guys, it's Riley. I'm back with another champion update. I have been playing with it a little bit. I did have a recent issue with my phone. I shattered it, so I lost a lot of footage, and it's also why I didn't stream even though I was off work. So I do have a couple things to show you. I like the new champion. It's Captain America Infinity War. Some of you have seen me on Reddit. Yay, Reddit famous. Because somebody noticed that because I'm the baby of the CCPs that you can actually see Captain America Infinity War on one of my top 4 champions. Sorry about that, Kabam, not much I can do about it. So let's get into it. So first of all, we'll look at the details. Just remember that this is at Sig Cap for him, so that's why it's so high. He does have a really good amount of health because he is a science champion, even if you don't count that, it's still pretty good. The raw damage for critical ratings, crit damage ratings, armor and block. I like the percentages better. I think they tell you more about what you're doing, but again, it's at Sig Cap, so this is going to depend for individual people each time. Next, we'll look at the synergies. Remember that all the synergies work for the champions of that class. They don't actually affect Cap because he has a special buff in his passive. So tech is Visions and I Am Vanilla. This one's interesting because of power nodes. Anytime the opponent uses an SP, it completely drains him to 0 power level, even if he only used the SP1. Mutant will be Storm and Beast, gives a starting and permanent 20% prowess. The prowess is constant. Other CCPs brought it up that it would be good with Iceman or Cable, but I'll let you catch up with them on what they think about that. Skill is Hawkeye, Black Widow, Thor Ragnarok. They get 250 crit on basic attacks. Science is Cap and Hulk Vanillas and Hulk Ragnarok. 50% attack power reduction on non-directed damage. For example, Dormammu's Degen or Iceman's Cold Snap. Any dot that does damage but doesn't trigger an attack itself. Mystic, Scarlet Witch, Jane Foster, and Doctor Strange. 30% of attack is direct, non-mitigatable damage on any nullify. And Cosmic, Captain Marvel. I'm so excited for the new movie. Thor, Vanilla, and Gamora. Increased buff duration of 25%. Per Kabam, this does stack with Black Bolt's comic synergy, but that's with Kamala Khan and Ronan, so your party starts to fill up pretty fast. This is the bio. Since opposing the Sokovia course, the super soldier lost his shield and forced underground with the help of his friends. New and old, he's managed to re-equip and remain under the radar, all the while continue to do what he believes is right, saving the world one clandestine mission at a time. Alright, so this is where Cap gets his synergies. So if you're trying to buff Cap and not others in your party, actually any champion from one of these classes will do. It doesn't have to be the ones mentioned in the synergies, and they will trigger as long as he has at least 1 kinetic on him. So Mutant gives, any special gives it a kinetic. Skill purifies a debuff when you have the kinetic, but it does remove the kinetic you have to do that. Science, parry places a weakness on the champion. Mystics gains a kinetic whenever a buff expires on the opponent. Cosmic parries place an armor break. And Tech, you can petrify your opponent. I think they're pretty good. I like that they don't quite match what the synergies are, so it's a little bit more complex that way. Abilities. So here's how you get your kinetics above and beyond which we already talked about. You can stack up to 5. You have a chance to get them by getting hit, blocking and parrying. Notably, parrying is a 100% chance, and anytime you get stunned. If the stun gives you your first kinetic, it won't cleanse based on the skill synergy that we talked about, but you do get to keep the kinetic. And you do have to keep stacking them pretty regularly because the longer you don't apply a new one, the quicker they expire. What a kinetic actually is. It adds attack, physical, and energy resist based on Sig levels. At all Sig levels, and even when he's unduped, 100% chance to nullify Unstoppable and get glancing blows similar to Captain Marvel's passive. I think that's pretty helpful. Anytime you do a heavy attack, you add a 5-second Fury depending on your Sig level and number of kinetics. It doesn't remove the kinetics you have, but special attacks do remove those kinetics. SP1 inflicts 3 bleeds, and if you have 5 kinetics, it reduces ability accuracy on your opponent. SP2 quick stuns your opponent and does massive damage based on the number of kinetics you have. And SP3 gains attack based on Sig level for up to 2 other classes. Cap's Science doesn't count as one, for the record. And you get a 30-second kinetic. It does wipe out your kinetics if you have 5, but you do stay with the kinetically charged buff because it gives you 1 back afterwards. Also, it looks really cool. Okay, so now I'm just going to do like a TLDR of the best and worst things about this champion. I actually really liked it. He has a really low skill cap, so unlike Proxima Midnight, who had to play for a pretty significant amount of time before I was able to really get the rhythm of how she worked, Cap is someone you could just pick up and start playing. He's pretty easy. I particularly enjoyed how good he was against unstoppable champions. That might be a personal bias because I freaking hate unstoppable champions. But as long as you have one kinetic energy up, you can hit them normally, and it completely ignores the unstoppable debuff, unstoppable buff, which means you can kill a lot of people. That's really great on high-end juggernauts, etc. I was really happy about that. It did not make it into the TLDR from Kabam, so I'm assuming that that might be a personal thing I really liked. A couple of things that were especially strong. He has a skill synergy in which he can shrug off debuffs by taking, it takes down one of his kinetic charges, so as long as he has at least one, he can shrug them off. That's a little bit different from after he's being stunned, because he gets the thing when he is stunned, so it won't shrug off that stun, but it will shrug off anything else. But if he can debuff shrug if he has a skill champion in the list, which are showed those three. And the other one is the power drain. So he has a tech synergy that if Vision or the other tech champion is in his group, he cannot power drain, but once they use any skill, once they use any special power, it drains everything else that they have, which is really nice for those champions that can, like the ones that have a lot of power usage. You know, you're like getting 2 hits in and then, oh crap, you have to wait for them to use their SP1 again because you've got them all the way up to almost 2. The second SP2. So that's really nice because then once they use their SP1, it'll actually drain all the things, so you don't have to hit them one more time and then wait again. I really thought that was really strong when I was doing it. I really enjoyed that. A couple of the things I thought were maybe a little bit of weaknesses is that he's really dependent on the debuffs he can inflict on the other champions. So if you have any champions that quickly shrug debuffs like Rogue or don't trigger them like Crossbones, anybody who's able to cleanse them or take them off or use them to their advantage, it would not be the best champion to work with. The other side of that is that it's even worse with Crossbones. I tried it, and because he's also at a disadvantage for class-wise, it was just not pleasant. There is more than one way to get a kinetic charge, which we've already talked about, but I thought that the most dependable way to get a kinetic charge is to do a parry. And so if you have a stun immune champion, I struggled a little bit keeping up my my kinetic charges when they were stun immune. Primarily because as long as you continue to trigger the synergies, they stay up longer. But the longer it's been since you've triggered a new kinetic charge, the quicker it comes off. So I just really thought that parry was like the strongest, quickest way of doing it. Any block has a 50% chance, which I guess scales with Sig Cap. And since we get a Sig Cap champ, I'm not sure. I think that would be a problem. What I'm saying is, if you have a Sentiment champion, it's difficult, I think, to maintain your kinetics because that's the best way that I use to get it. I think it's still doable, and he's still definitely a usable champion, but it definitely made it weaker. And then the other thing is he's very synergy dependent. Now, the synergies that he has are pretty easy to get champions. They're not like expensive ones or ones that are like highly, everybody wants them. They're older champions for the most part, so most people have them. I would assume they have at least one of them. The thing that I thought was a little bit interesting is they're not super strong champs in and of themselves. Like, there is a reason that you might use Black Widow. Obviously Iron Man is somebody that you might use, but they're not the champions you're going to go about it. So you're going to have to make some decisions when you're doing like higher end content or longer quests, because you can either buff up Captain America or you can bring your Iceman. So I feel like you can do it, and there's definitely ways of working around it, but you're definitely going to have to make some decisions. I'm going to put it in the cons column, although I actually think that's a really good example of champion balancing. So he's not going to like blow you out of the water. You can't use, Iceman and have this energy with him and also have the amazing things that Iceman does. You have to choose, because you can only take 5 champs with you for not including Captain America. So those are some decisions you're going to have to take a look at, figure out who you like to use your champions. Are you willing to bring 2 of the Avengers with you that may or may not be the ones you actually want to use on that quest? So I think that that's something that you should definitely take into consideration before you put a lot of energy or money in some cases into getting Captain America Infinity War. But if you do happen to get him, I did actually really enjoy him. He's not flashy like Proxima Midnight. Proxima Midnight was a super flashy champion. She had a lot going on. But he is, I think, useful, and I think he will find a place in the game. So, hey, thanks for watching my video. Please leave me a comment and tell me what you think, or if you found anything else that you thought was interesting. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.